So I got vetted in. I guess NFL needs to vet
Sure.
whoever comes in there. I got vetted in real quick. 24 hours later, I'm right there in front of the TV. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Courage, courage. That is my message. So.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where we believe living with intention through a bucket list lifestyle is a great way to bring yourself personal joy. As you are crossing items off your list, you're actually filling up your bucket. The more items you cross off, the more joy gets added, until eventually your joy spills over into the lives of those around you. Now let's start crossing it off together. When you look at your bucket list, when you look through the items that you've written down that you want to cross off, how much courage do you find yourself needing to accomplish the task in front of you? Is it a lot? Is it a little? And if you need some, where do you find it? Our bucket list storyteller today is all about courage. And her bucket list and the items on it are all about helping others, which is a great thing to have on your list. It doesn't need to be all about you and climbing Machu Picchu or being in a balloon over Cappadocia. It can be about helping others and finding joy in that. Those are worthy things to have on your list. Today's bucket list storyteller had such items. Let me introduce you to her, and let's start crossing it off. Her name is Joahna Tupas, and she describes herself as an intentional parent, innovative, inspiring, and influential. Joahna, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Roger. This is such a wonderful podcast. Thank you for having me here.
For sure. Guests like you make it this way. So I'm excited to hear your story. So what is it that you crossed off your bucket list?
Okay, so it's create an inspirational social campaign.
First off, describe what that is, right? What do you, not necessarily your campaign, but what do you think a social campaign is? Why is that important?
Right. So a social campaign is really just putting together a group of people and making it more of like a movement, at least for me, you mentioned, the influence that we have. And if it's such a noteworthy campaign, a lot of people would really want to partake on that campaign. And so that's what it is essentially.
Okay. So where were you when this idea came? We're going to get to the idea, but what was going through you to say, oh my gosh, I want to put this activity on my bucket list?
Right. This has been a long time coming, this campaign. You mentioned I'm an intentional parent. I did kind of homeschool, unschool, world school my son since he was 2. He's 12 now. So it's been like 10 years. We did a lot of experiential learning and character education. I think as a parent, an intentional parent is really important. My main goal as a parent is really just to have a child that grows up to be confident, compassionate, and courageous. That was my main goal in educating my child, which is why that's the kind of schooling that we went for. And so I opened up this blog when we started homeschooling in 2014. It's called schoolinAbackpack.com. So it's a personal blog, and we would just I was just kind of journaling our journey together, our learning journey together. And for some reason, it gained some traction. Some families started to ask, where are you guys going? What are you guys doing? How would you educate if we were going this place or we were at this place? And so for some reason at 2017, we kind of grew into like a community of parents coming together and kind of educating our children the way that I used experiential learning for. And I told them the really important part of this learning is the character education part, because like I said, we want kids who are confident, compassionate, and courageous. And what really stood out for me is the courageous part. Because if your child is courageous enough to put themselves out there, it shows their level of confidence. And if they also have the courage to be more socially aware, then they have compassion, So it's just contributing to their society without having to kind of put themselves out there in a negative way. They could, they're self-aware, they're social aware. So that's really important. And so fast forward to the pandemic, where everything went on a virtual or like a learning distance kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm already in the US. I came from the Philippines. I'm already in the US. I was a teacher in the US, and I started creating this curriculum to kind of engage the kids in. And it's just some of the questions that I would ask my guests. So I would go to different places when the lockdown happened to have the kids have a sense of, there's still an outside world out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just pop in and ask, random people, what is courage for you? What's one thing that you've done where you had a challenge and you had to apply courage and you overcame? And so it really became more of like okay, I think what we need today is a culture of courage.
Mm.
That's where the social campaign started. And so right now with the social campaign, I don't know if I'm moving forward, but let me tell you this. I'm trying to garner 1 million inspiring stories to create a movement, a wave of courage, so that hopefully our next generation of leaders are courageous. So that's what
That's
it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been a teacher myself, so I understand, that, people don't get how ability to be courageous even translates into your own education, right? If you're
Right,
courageous, you ask questions. And so,
right.
curious learners are lifelong learners. And that
Mm,
part of it, I think, is super awesome, that even in the context of no matter what subject matter it is, you can
yeah,
be courageous. You can be courageous in math. You can be courageous in social studies. You can be,
right.
I was a social studies teacher, so I always get kids that are like, I hate social studies. I'm like,
They just
you,
kind of sit there and
yeah,
take it in without
right.
putting themselves out there. So it takes a little bit of courage.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So how did this morph into a social campaign, and
right.
what is that social campaign?
Okay, so right now, I kind of started the social campaign. Like I mentioned, in 2020 when the pandemic happened, I would just go out there and try to find random people so that when I play the video in my classroom, they'll see that, oh my gosh, I know we're locked down and everything, but look, I'm at the beach and there's people that I could ask, just kind of give them a window to their world.
Mm,
And so I would ask random people and say, hey, can I put you on a video? This is for my class. And so it became kind of routinary to just come up to people and ask them what courage means, because it's surprising, some people, they can't really define it.
yeah.
For some reason, I don't know if we have lost, what that means for us personally, or we're just going through the, monotony of life sometimes, that we forget that every inch of us getting up, even just that, displays a certain level of courage. It's very subjective, this word, this character, if you will. And so right now, fast forward again to 2023. In 2022, I had relaunched School in the Backpack, not as a blog or like a community, informal community of sorts. It's now more of a company.
Mm,
And it's one of its advocacies is the Courage Project. So it's asking people to just go to the site, upload a video of you sharing your inspiring story of, this is my challenge. I turned that obstacle into an opportunity by applying courage. So, we're trying to get as much people. We're hoping to gun for 1 million stories so that it becomes more of a movement. So that's what the social campaign is right now.
If I went to the site, what do I need to be able to participate in that?
Sure. Well, you really just need one story in your life that you feel would inspire all of the listeners or all of the people that will read. There are 3 ways to share your story. One is you can write it. So we do have a button to write my story. One is you can record a video of yourself telling your story and upload it. And one is if you already have it, just send us a link,
Oh,
so that we can compile it. And, all these different faces from different places in the world are coming together and saying, you're not alone. We all have challenges, but look, with applying courage, we're kind of unified that way.
So then what happens if I go to the site and I, upload a video of my story, whether it be
Hmm.
inspirational to some or not, but I upload my story, and then what happens is it sits in a storage, container, and
No,
how to,
we definitely share it. That's a really good question. We would share it through the site as well. So we'll have one page full of different stories, different faces, and from different places sharing their stories. Our goal is to really inspire a movement, create more of a wave through this social campaign. And like I said, the ultimate goal here, I'm an intentional parent. We want to innovate things. We want to inspire people. We want to influence. And I think courage right now is the way to go. So
and
we will have a bank to share it. Yeah.
who's the target for those stories? Is it just anyone? I mean, I know you originally started with students, but
Hmm.
has that morphed, or are you still concentrating on getting these stories out to young people?
Right. So it would be anyone, doesn't matter what age, because, I could tell you, my son, when he was 2, it takes some courage for him to, I'd see him like with 1 quarter and he'd see someone that would need like help or water or something. He'd go up there. And even if he doesn't have anything, he'll go up there at 4 years old and just say, Mom, can I pray for this person? He looks like he's, not doing so well. And so he would. And that's one of the things that really inspired me. Like the courage of these kids
Mm,
are just amazing. I'll tell you something. I think you would agree with me. For some reason, it seems like kids are more courageous than adults.
mm.
I don't know if the wear and tear of life has affected our courage somehow, where we're like more like, oh, nope, I'm not. But I think we can learn a thing or two from our kids when it comes to courage.
Here at the Crossing It Off podcast, we are passionate about inspiring you in your bucket list lifestyle and empowering you to live out your lists. We offer many resources to assist you in your bucket list journey, such as web resources in the show notes, bucket list mentoring services, my book Live Out Your Lists, a private Facebook group for you to share your bucket list success stories with others, and more. All of these can be found at crossingitoffpodcast.com. Find the resource that fits your need so that you can live out your list. Now back to the show. For me, courage would be about taking risks, right? Or being willing to fail, at least at the very minimum. And I do think adults over time, that kind of wears off, that, you become a more,
Yes.
the word stable, right? Whatever that
Right.
means, but we, as we get to be adults, it's, how do I make my life more stable? How do I make it more secure? All those kind of things. And
Right.
I think the courage and risk taking slowly bleed off as we grow older. So
Right.
ultimately, what is the goal of the campaign?
Okay. So the ultimate goal really is to, like I mentioned, create a culture of courage. Our main goal is to inspire and influence the younger generation. We want to see a next generation of leaders that are more courageous. I I wouldn't say like risk takers
Hmm.
without wisdom,
Right. Exactly.
you know,
Yes, I
be-
agree. I agree.
because I don't think that's courage at all. That's just being reckless. I think
Right.
that, for me, courage is kind of calculated somehow, is what I think. So and even if you say no, I think that's a kind of level of
Oh,
courage too.
sure.
Well, if there are certain situations and that's not safe or beneficial for you, and a child can say nope, you know,
Mm.
and they grew up saying that because they're too confident, not too, but they're confident of themselves. They have a voice, they found their voice. That's courage. Reaching out to others who are in need, that's courage.
Setting boundaries is courage,
Right.
whether that's in
Yeah.
a relationship or your workplace. Setting, and I think again that gets whittled down over the years as you become an adult, where you're just like, your boss asks you to do something, you're like, okay, means I have to stay
Right.
20 minutes after my contract's over, or 20 minutes that I'm not getting overtime, or whatever it is. We get worn down to be just like, okay, whatever. And there is
Right.
some courage in saying no,
Right.
or to a partner, or to your spouse, or whatever it is, to be able to say
Right.
no. That crosses this boundary. That takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. So courage doesn't always say yes.
Hmm. Exactly.
Courage also says no. There's a balance there somewhere. It's like success is your teacher. Takes courage to be successful, but at the same time, failure is courageous because
Hmm.
then you're not afraid of failing because you learn from it. So it's just changing that perspective. Yeah, so I think that is the main goal is to for myself, that's the vision, is to raise a awareness of what courage is, because somehow we kind of lose the definition or genuine meaning of the word.
So you said something there that, bring awareness, right? That a lot of times when we think about social campaigns, like it can be just about awareness. How are you
Hmm.
doing that? How are you bringing awareness to the Courage Project?
Right. So it takes a lot of courage. Recently I was asked to be interviewed at the Super Bowl media week.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm like, can I really do this? But I think some people are trying to, they're really catching on the campaign, which is a good thing. And it's never really about us. I mean, for now, we can be the voice of the campaign,
Sure.
but later on, it's the generations after us that will benefit from it, is really the goal there.
So how did that
And
come
so,
about? How did the Super Bowl week come about? You don't just walk into that event and say, "Hey, can I tell
oh
you
no,
what I'm doing?" You got to be invited. How'd that happen?
right. So, I am part of the upcoming leadership experience tour. I am a speaker. It's going to be at March 25th in Michigan. And one of the opportunities that they did provide is coming up with like a graphic display in the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, yeah, I'm game. I would love to have my graphic display just so I can, have more people visit the site. And I got a call from the producer and I'm like, what is school in a backpack? Are you giving out backpacks to schools? I'm like, okay, so that's kind of symbolic right there. School, I'm just trying to say, like, life is a huge school. Our biggest school is life. And you really need to get through that school of life. You really need just one backpack, and that is courage. That's the main message of what School in the Backpack is and what it stands for. And so he was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Can you tell me more about that? And
Awesome.
so, like, 4 days after, I get a call from him, and he's like, do you want to come down here? I think more people would need to hear that message. So I got vetted in. I guess NFL needs to vet
Sure.
whoever comes in there. I got vetted in real quick. 24 hours later, I'm right there in front of the TV. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Courage, courage. That is my message. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So I'm trying
So
to look
when,
for different ways, like your
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. So when you went to your family and friends and said, "Hey, I'm gonna champion this cause," right? What was their response? Were they supportive? Were they, inquisitive? Did you find some people that were dream stealers? And how did you respond to it?
Right. There are a lot of people that, for one reason or another, you would receive pushbacks. And it doesn't matter what it is.
Sure.
It is what it is. Not a lot of people would agree with you. Not a lot of people believe in your causes. Not all people believe in you, period.
Hmm.
And you really just have to keep that vision that you have, that purpose that you have intact. You believe in something so much and you believe that it has a really good purpose and it can impact more than yourself or more than those groups of people, anyways. You just go for it. Again, courage, right?
Yeah. So if
So,
you were sitting down with somebody at like a coffee shop and you were talking about this and they said, "Oh, I have this great idea for a social campaign," what would be the one thing besides the Nike slogan that you would tell them to, if you're going to do this, you got to do
just
X.
do it.
What's the X?
Yeah. Okay. I think it would really be the why behind
Mm,
that social campaign. What is the intention? What is the motive? It really boils down to anybody can have a social campaign. I mean, look at social media right now. I mean,
right.
it's just TikTok alone. Anything you put out there, it becomes kind of like a hashtag thing or like a viral thing, But if it's a huge cost, and it's something that you really believe in and personally resonate with, I think it's worth, jumping for, just taking it. Yeah, grabbing it by the, I can't say the word, halls.
You can say anything you want
Yeah.
on this show. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
I think that's true. You have to, even inside a bucket list, be able to
Mhm.
say, I want to, what's the why? And that's, I'm a
Yeah.
huge proponent of what's your intention behind your list. Is it
Mhm.
just to have a list, right? Or it's just to keep
Right.
up with the Joneses, or it's just to cross things off so you can say you've done them or take a picture for it for Instagram or whatever. But
Mhm.
when you put an intention in front of it and you put a why, like you said,
Mhm.
then that really gives it meaning where you can find joy. Same with probably a social campaign of being able to say, why are you doing this? That will
Right.
bring you the satisfaction and the joy of actually doing it and it not
Right.
becoming what I would call a chore
Right.
for sure.
Give it roots, It's
Yeah.
a seed, plant it, give it roots, it'll grow.
So,
Yeah.
Joanne, what's something else that you want to cross off your bucket list?
Okay. Well, I am pro experience life to the fullest. I think
Hmm.
that's why courage is important, anyways, because, at the end of the day, that's how you experience life to the fullest. It's not one of my guests. I do interviews where I pick a person and I invite them and talk about what courage looks like for them. And one of the guests said something revolutionary for me. He said, courage, I know what it does not mean. It does not mean being fearless.
Mm.
Fear is a proponent of courage. That's why courage is out there. So I would have to say, and I hope life lets me do this, skydiving in Alaska, where what is that colorful background?
Oh, the Aurora Boreal, the Northern Lights.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, that's the
Okay.
one.
I haven't heard that.
Skydiving,
I haven't heard that one before. I mean, I've heard skydiving lots of times, but I've never heard
right? But the
during the
aurora
Northern Lights.
borealis
Yeah, and the
just
Northern
right
Lights. Wow.
behind me. Yes, just jumping and just looking at that beauty. Yeah, probably that.
And is that something you really want to do? Are you going to make happen? Have you like made any plans?
We were supposed to, me and my friend, she's in Maryland. We were planning to do that, and we had everything organized. Then the pandemic hit, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're gonna put this in in the shelf for now. But yes, definitely planning to do that. Hopefully, my health holds up. But
Yeah, that's an awesome thing. Joelle, as you talked here, you're very inspirational, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
oh,
If
thank you,
somebody
Roger.
wanted to contribute to the Courage Project or just engage with it, how would they
Mhm.
find it?
Please visit www.schoolinthebackpack.com. You have a lot of information on how to upload your story. You can play a video about what we stand for, um, a little bit of read on what the culture of courage looks like, how to submit or participate in the Courage Project. And if you have any questions, there's a link there where you can reach out to me as well.
Awesome. Joanna, I'm so excited you came here today. Like I said at the beginning of the show, serving others and encouraging others can definitely be on your bucket list. It doesn't all have to be Angkor Wat and Machu Picchu. So I appreciate you coming and sharing, and I wish you the
Mhm.
best. And I want pictures of your skydiving when you're done for sure.
Definitely. Thank you, Roger. Again, this is such a phenomenal show. Thank you for having me in it and having this show together. Yeah.